Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us this evening in this exciting workshop labeled Extracting Actionable Insights by Dr. Gianni. Okay, so just to briefly introduce our speaker, Dr. Fredericks is a data evangelist, a seasoned educator with a passion for mystifying the world of data, strategy, change, and transformation. As a social scientist, she has years of experience in the field of collecting and analyzing data to tell stories that lead to significant business improvement. She owns a consulting firm, Change Hub, that specializes in organizational transformation, where she works with top listed JSE companies and global conglomerates to align their people, process, and technology with their strategy. Dr. Fredericks holds a PhD in Information Systems from the University of Cape Town and is a sought-after speaker in data, strategy, and business change and transformation. She has standing invitations from UCT, the University of the Western Cape, and the Stellenbosch University of Business School to bring industry knowledge into the classroom. Dr. Jeanne Fredericks, welcome and thank you. And I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Ketlejo. That was a very colorful background of me. Who wrote that?
Oh, yeah. Special thanks to our sponsor. Yes.
All right. So one thing that it doesn't say is that I am a full-time nerd, proud weirdo, and I'm a little bit creepy. So I'm just going to prove that to you by asking a question of everyone in the audience. So what are you wearing and why? Just put it in the chat box. I just want to see what people are saying. It's a good way to test. Katejo, can you write there something? I just want to see if things are coming in. Does everybody have the chat open? A suit? Okay, thank you, Desmond. Desmond. I think I know that name, Desmond. I think I know that name. All right, so we've got a suit there going. Desmond, why are you wearing a suit? What made you go that route? Okay, how many people did we say is on the line?
It's 53 people.
53 people. Okay, jersey and trousers all blue, no shoes, right? No shoes because I'm at home. Yeah, I just went to put on some socks as well. We've got, okay, that's just an AI assistant. Black shirt, specs so I can see. Thank you very much for that. Black dress, tracks. Hey, who's the tracksuit and socks? Me too. I'm wearing a blazer on top, tracks at the bottom, and some woolly socks. Tracksuit because it's cold. Church after I get you. Why are you wearing a suit? Okay, there we go. Puffer jacket. All right, cool. Bedroom slipper with socks. I like that very much. Yellow t-shirt. So I take it everybody who is not on who wrote on the chat, they are not wearing any clothing, and that is why we don't do cameras. Is that correct? I think so. Absolutely. All right, so I'm wearing this because I've been wearing it for the last 3 days and you guys cannot smell through the screen. So it makes me look professional, but it's not clean. Right. Another question that I have for you guys here. How many decisions do you think you make per day? Just want to see what's coming in here. And it just ballparks. How many decisions do you think you make per day? Right. Millions. 100. Okay, Leonard, you can't just say many. I mean, how long is a piece of string? Come on, you're hedging your answer here. 500,000. Okay, 37,000. Thank you, Inga. You make all of them. It's true. Us girls, we make all of them. More than 20, said Frank. Lots and lots. All right. All right, cool. 100. Emmanuel, you're very precise there. 104. Okay. So per day, on average, we make approximately between 33,000 and 37 or 36,000 decisions per day. Does that surprise you? Just keep that chat open. I just want to see 10 plus. Okay, cool. Yeah, we make a lot of this. I know it makes a lot of decisions. So Prof. Inga is saying now it doesn't surprise her at all. And that's okay. All right. So when we make decisions, there are quite a few parts of the brain that lights up, but I'm just going to highlight two of them. So it's the prefrontal cortex, which is the short-term memory, and then also the hippocampus, looking at long-term memory. Now, we are talking about data, so why in goodness's name am I talking about what you're wearing, the decisions that you're making, and long and short-term memory? Here's the thing. When we are taught about data, in the general sense, we are taught about collection and analysis and insights. And that is great, fantastic. You need to learn how to do that. And you can collect the best quality data, do your analysis flawlessly, and come up with the best insights. But it really doesn't mean anything if it doesn't turn into action. And that is where the value actually lies, right? Now, between the insight and the action, which is the last part of the process here, there is a decision that needs to take place. And when you present your insights, you are competing against people's memories, their experience, their gut. So I just want to ask another question here. Has someone ignored your insights and only followed their guts? Has that ever happened to you? Just write me in the comment if that has happened to you. I just want to see what's happening. It certainly has happened to me, especially in the beginning of my career. See, I've seen quite a few me's coming in here. Yes, a lot. Me. Yeah, so we do the mostest when it comes to the data, right? We learn how to use technology and all sorts of things, and we do fantastic things. And on the other end, we have someone listening to us and it's like, I don't believe what you're saying. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing. There we go. I see quite a few me's and a lot's coming in as well. So this is where the so what question comes in. When you're having your insights, you need to be very clear in terms of the so what. Now, why is it so hard to answer the so what question? This is a real example. So I was running a process re-engineering workshop, and at the time I was ready to exit that project because I needed to go to a different project, and a colleague of mine, I was handing over to them, and they sent me a message like 30 minutes before 12 o'clock, and all they sent via text was, I have load shedding from 12 to 2 p.m. I want you to just like look at that, the context that I was saying in, and tell me, what do you think that means? Let me just check the commentary here. I have load shedding from 12 to 2 p.m. today. What do you think that means? I can't stand in. Cool. Thanks, Desmond. Anybody else want to venture a guess? I'm not available. Right? Cannot execute. I might not be available. Okay, meaning they can't work during that period. They won't be able to attend. Now, I just want to, like, I sketched the same scenario to you guys, right? I gave you the same, I have load shedding from 12 to 2 p.m. Yet, coming in, we have different perspectives that says, I think this is what it means. And this is the problem, one of the problems that we have in terms of giving our insights. It's a communication little problem. We speak in ellipses. So ellipses is that dot, dot, dot. So in the previous example, I shared, they shared facts. I have load shedding from 12, or what was it, 12 to 2 p.m. So that was like, yes, I'm giving you the facts here, now figure something out. And I don't blame certain people for not realizing that they're speaking in ellipses. They leave a lot unsaid. If you think about how children interact with their parents, for instance, a child may say, I am hungry to their parent, and their parent will interpret that as, I need to cook food for you. I need to provide some food. All right. So they come to that decision. It's like lightning quick. It's like, okay, this is my child. They're 3 years old. They are hungry. They don't have the capacity and the capability to actually cook food. I am the parent. If I don't feed them, they will starve and I will go to jail. And I don't want them to actually starve. So maybe I'll create something for them. I take into consideration what they like, what they don't like, what they've had for breakfast, what they still need. There's a lot of things that's going, and then we come up with an interpretation. Now, in these scenarios, it is quite common for people to come to the same conclusion. It's the same in certain social, other social things like, let me see, like flirting. When somebody say you up and dot, dot, dot. I don't know. Maybe Katlego, is that how people flirt today? I don't know. I don't get out of my house much. Maybe on the chat, is that how you've been flirted to? I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I don't know as well.
you don't know as well. So we're
Yeah.
just sad people. This is the thing with statisticians and mathematicians, right? We just stay at home. There are other, like, what else is there? Being threatened. So I know my mom didn't even have to say a word. I would be doing something and she'd just give me like a look, like, and then I'm like, oh, girl, you need to stop the foolishness. You know, you're going to wake up like a week later because you were in a coma if you don't stop right now. So, you know, these are the type we learn that social interaction. We don't always have to say what we mean. And we can speak in ellipses. It's perfectly fine. But when it comes to the working environment where we are introducing insights and somebody needs to do something, we really cannot use that type of communication. So what does that mean in data speak? It means that usually people focus on the data and information as opposed to the insight. So if we go back to our original our text that we had here, now one way that you can start addressing that is to say, okay, I have load shedding from 12 to 2 p.m. today. Cool. So can you please record the session in case I drop off? Now I'm very clear because there is a clear call to action. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do. I don't have to do a lot of interpretation. I don't need to figure out what it is that this person is trying to tell me. Now, what does that look like in a real data example? So this was I was coaching a master's student and they did phenomenal work. They collected and analyzed thousands and thousands of satellite images for 3 different farms over a long period of time to understand the vegetation trends and what that meant for the farmers. There's something that they need to change. And I'm going to share with you the original presentation that they shared with me, which was very data focused. And then I'm going to share how we fixed that. So this was the original pack. Don't worry, I'm not going to be too long. Right. Hi, thank you very much for joining us today. I just want to let you know that we did some NDVI analysis on your farms. And as you can see, from 2005 to 2007, the vegetation wasn't that great. We also know that there was a drought there. From 2007 to 2009, the rain came in and it was a little bit better, as you can see, based on what the NDVI values are telling us. And then it just went on like that. And I was like, okay. And I sat there and like, fine, I'm listening to what you have to say. And then they went into, there's also differences in NDVI when it comes to winter and summer. And then I think by slide 3, I was like, okay, I know you worked really hard on this, but just a couple of questions that I need to ask you. What is NDVI? First of all, they explained it and I was like, okay, who are you explaining this to? Like, who are you presenting this to? And it's like, so I asked, is this at the university level? And they're like, oh, no, we are presenting to the farmers. And I'm like, okay, what is the level of education of these farmers? Like, if you showed them this, do they know what they're looking at? And it's like, oh, no, they wouldn't know. And I'm like, And it just went on like that. And we ended up about 2 hours later to come up with a different story. Are you guys still there? Katlego, say something. I've been talking for too long. Okay. So this was the rework pack. Ah, fantastic.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so you're going to learn about cows today. So we had a rework pack, and this was more insights focused as opposed to data focused, right? So they were like, made a statement. Here's the thing. Rangelands farms, such as your farm, they are degrading, meaning there's a decrease in grass production. And with that also means that it is a reduction in available, I struggle with the word, I can say it right once, cattle. So I'm going to substitute that for cows. I hope that is okay because English is not my first language and that word just trips me up. Okay, so there's a decrease in grass production, and with that, there's a reduction in available cattle. I said it right. Or forage, like food for your cows. Now, what does that mean? Now, you would have experienced that some of you had to sell your cows because you didn't have enough food for them to eat, so they needed to get off the farm and go somewhere where there were farm. And you also, some of you, we know that you don't have enough money to go and buy food for your cows. And then in very sad cases, we've also seen that some of your cows have died because they were malnutrition. There wasn't enough food for them to have. And it's like, okay, now it's starting to get somewhere. Now, factors contributing to this degrading, can't see there, degradation. Is that a word? Okay. So there's environmental factors, for instance, the drought, but then there's also the managerial, like overgrazing. Now, overgrazing means that you're taking your cow to a specific spot on your farm and they're eating too much of the grass. And the problem with that is that there is a decrease in natural occurrence of fires. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fires are bad, right? But in your environment, it actually helps your ecological system, because that fires are taking away or burning vegetation that shouldn't be there, that is not beneficial to your cows. So in that case, we actually kind of need those fires a little bit. But with the decrease of those fires, it has now increased the woody plant encroachment. Now, why do we care about woody plant encroachment? First of all, when there's an increase of these trees that is happening on your farms, there is a decrease of your grass. Now, your cows cannot eat the trees, but they do eat the grass. So now we are decreasing the number of the food that is available for them to eat. And as you can see, the trend is saying that yes, in 2007 to 2009, if you look at the colors, the greener the image, the better the food sources were, and the less green, it means that that food is no longer available. And as you can see, the trend is showing us that the food is getting less and less and less, and our projection is saying it's going to get even less than what they are now. And by the way, so don't worry too much about what NDVI says. It just means the quality and abundance of vegetation that is there for your cows. Now, on this, there are a lot of there are some things that we cannot solve. Like right now, the environmental, you cannot solve the drought that is happening in your area. But there are certain things that you can do. For instance, the managerial factors. Now, this is the way that you manage your cows in response to those environmental factors. And we made it really easy for you. There are 3 things that we are suggesting that you're doing. Prevent overstocking at camps. And you know what? What we've done was we said, here's your farm. We have identified certain camps in your farm. And we are saying currently you are letting 6 cows go to a specific camp, and we're saying it needs to be 3. The next is allow stress land to recover. So how do you know that it's stressed? You know what? If you take a beer bottle and you put it on its side, if the grass is shorter than that beer bottle, you don't take the cows there. If it is longer than that beer bottle, please do take your cows there, because that's actually a good thing. And the last thing is that you need to manage your woody plants. So when you see these trees growing, just cut them back, because they're interfering with the grass production. Now, question to the audience, and I want to see you respond here. Which story do you think the farmers will respond to best? I just want to see here, 1 or 2. 2. Okay, we're seeing a lot of 2s, the second one. All right, there we go. And it's the same. Number 3. Where is number 3? Okay, so 2. All right, so here's the thing. Why they would respond to this a little bit better. Let's break it down. There are key components of a story. Number 1 is there's a protagonist. So this is the hero. It's the person that you care of. I mean, I want you to think about your favorite show and who the person is that you cared for the most. Maybe, okay, Bridgerton is out now. Okay, maybe Bridgerton number 3 is not that bad. But yeah, think of your favorite show and who the protagonist is. In this case, in this story, it was the farmer. We said, farmer, you are the hero. So for every hero, there needs to be a villain. In this case, we said it's the woody plants. So what or who are we fighting? It's the woody plants, right? The third one, we said, what is an exciting incident? In this case, I wouldn't really call it exciting, it's just devastating. They have to sell their cows, or they have to, it's dying cattle. People are losing their livelihoods. So because this speaks to their hearts, like, oh, I want to prevent that from happening. A conflict. So this is the main problem that the hero needs to solve. And in this case, we said very clearly it's the managerial issues, because this is something that they can do. And we even gave them a playbook in terms of how to do it. And then we have our resolution. So this is then saying how the story ends. So what do we want from the hero? That is a clear call to action. And then what impact will this action have on the hero? We said there it will be a reduction in the deaths of cows, and you can continue to make a living. So that is a compelling story. People respond to stories, not data. So I don't know if anybody, I haven't seen any commentary come through, but I'm weary of time. So I'm just going to continue here. All right. So the next thing of why it is so hard for people to answer the so what question is they actually don't know what the insights are. When you present your data, or when you are doing your data analysis, right? Any data professional, like a statistician or a mathematician, you have a lot of data acumen, like the difference between qualitative and quantitative data and all of those kind of beautiful things. You learn how to use the right technology to actually get to I mean, I have no idea how to get to standard deviation, like with a pen and paper. I need some tech to help me with that. But then you also need the context acumen. So if you are in a business situation, you need to know that you need to understand that business and what they've been through, where they're going, what they would like to achieve. It doesn't matter which context you're in, you need to understand the context in order for that to make sense, because context gives meaning. And this is, oopsie, and how do you get there? The thing is, you start with the end in mind, as simple as and complex as that. You start with the end in mind. So here's an example of what I did. I wanted to do a study that focused on what is the impact of a digital business strategy on firm performance. So just to give you some background here, pretty much everywhere in the world now, people are saying that if you have an old firm, like an incumbent firm, a company that's like 30 years old and 20 years old, there's a lot of analog things going on. So when I say an incumbent, I don't mean a digital born company like Google, for instance. They started with technology was their thing. So it is an incumbent firm. People are spending millions and millions and millions of rands on digital technology. And I wanted to understand that investment that they are doing or making, is it really improving their firm performance? So I designed my study and I was like, clearly I need to go the quantitative route. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it from many different views. I want to see, and I decided on structural equation modeling, because I wanted to see if I've got a variable here and I've got full as a independent variable, and I've got firm performance as a dependent variable, what is the impact of that one on firm performance, but with a mediator. So that's how I was like, okay, I need to do structural equation modeling. Great. And then I started thinking, how does the story end? What am I gonna, the so what of it all, like really? And I honestly couldn't think of a good so what, because the best case scenario was, I will tell them that your technology doesn't impact your firm performance as much as you thought. And then, so what? I was like, okay, I need to rework this little piece of work that I'm doing here. And I was like, okay, I'm going to collect, or the outcome that I eventually came to was like, I want to be able to tell an organization what they should stop, like what type of investment they should stop, because that will save them money. What should they start, because that will really make a difference, and what should they continue, the stuff that they are doing absolutely fantastic. In order for me to do that, I needed to overlay my quantitative data with my qualitative data. So I was like, okay, I need to do interviews, all sorts of stuff. And I ended up doing thematic analysis. And the link between the two was then this triangulation. And triangulation is simply just saying that you collect multiple sorts of data from different places, and you link them together to see if they corroborate the story that is there. So this was a way for me to go into an organization to say, this is a problem that I can help you solve through data. And so that was a win for them. And then it was also a win for me because my study was then upgraded from what is the impact to how does the DBS influence firm performance. And I think that was a much better study. So we always need to have the end in mind. And you start that process as soon as you possibly can. So that is where qualitative data can improve quantitative data and really tell a story at the end of the day that really creates some value. Now, it can also be the other way around. So this is an example of I was working with a company where we wanted to understand the roadmap for I think, yeah, they were doing a digital drive, not a digital, a data drive. And I was like, okay, so let's see what our plan needs to be for the next year to get you to that data-driven organization. And we thought, well, when we designed the study, it was like, okay, we can do a qualitative analysis. We went to all the EXCO members, we did some interviews, we spoke to the project teams and other key stakeholders. And the insights that we were getting were the project teams, the people that are driving certain things that needs to happen, they rated themselves much higher than what the business did. So the business were like, oh, these people are not doing their job very well. The project team is saying, we are doing a fantastic job. And it was like, So when we tried to present this, it didn't go too well. And we thought, okay, people are not believing the outcomes of our study. So we are going to use some statistical methods to give some validation to our study. So we went into, all we did, it was so simple. All we did was we got a little bit of a questionnaire that is industry based, sent it out, got some feedback, and what we showed them really made the difference was to say, okay, this is the thing, the capability that we are rating. The project team is rating them as a 4. The stakeholders are rating you as a 1. This is the distance between what the project team is saying versus what the stakeholders are saying. And then we also showed them the standard deviation to show in some instances people are pretty much on the same page, and other instances there are huge disparities in terms of what there's no consensus on where we are actually in terms of this maturity. And just by adding that layer on top of our qualitative, all of a sudden it was like, oh, these people are legit. They really know what they are talking about. When it was actually it's the same insights that it was given. We just needed to use some quantitative insights to give validation to our qualitative. And that's the thing, you always need to think of the audience, how they will respond. And if you, in our case, we missed, we thought we didn't need the quantitative, and then when we added it, all of a sudden we got to the action that we wanted to see. And then something else in terms of why is it so hard? We don't collaborate. I've seen so many, especially younger data professionals who goes in and do all of these things and think they have to do everything by themselves. They don't want to be vulnerable in front of other people to say, okay, I've done this. I'm not quite sure what my next steps would be. What am I actually asking? Just collaborate a little bit more. I started a study, I think sometime back in 2016, finished it, and I thought this year, oh, maybe I should publish. And I got a co-author / coach that was working with me, or still working with me. And they read the thing and it was like, they gave such fantastic insights. And I'm like, I've been working on this for so long. I did not see this at all. And it's just because they come with different experiences, different views. They know a little bit more in certain areas. And I'm a forerunner for let's collaborate. Look at the stuff that be welcome to just critique what is here, what would make it better, because at the end of the day, we will create a better product. It's not about us, it's about what we then create. And then the last one that I just want to highlight, which speaks to this, not about us, we sometimes do forget about the audience. Here's the thing, when we run these types of studies or we do our analysis, it's a lot of work that goes in there. So I just want you to go to the chat box to tell me on a scale of 1 to 5, the difficulty of the work that you are doing. Yeah, before I continue here, I just want to see, or where you rate yourself. Mine is like at a 7, a 3. Desmond is saying let's see, more people coming in. 4, 7 out of 10, 5. Now, here's the thing. There's a little thingy, and I think you may have heard about this before. There's a little thing called ego. So when we work extraordinarily hard on something, we are very tempted when we go and present this to show the hard work that we have done, right? And that's sometimes part of the problem, because the audience, they don't care about the hard work that went on here. They want to understand. Remember, they want to be the hero of that story. And sometimes if we make it about us, it's not going to get to the action that we want. So we need to focus more on the audience than we do on focusing to us. Now, when you go for performance reviews and all of those kind of stuff, by all means, take the hard work, tell them how difficult it was to get there. But when we present insights, they just want to see, all right, what's the problem? How does it relate to me? And what must I do to fix it? I promise you that would really, really start changing the narrative in terms of whether people take your advice and we're not. Some people are just like regular, I can't say it now because I'm being recorded, but they're just stubborn people. Let's call it that for now. Now, as I mentioned, your data shouldn't become the villain. So you need to be very, very clear in terms of who the villain is. Now, in the brain, there's certain part, yeah, I'm going to highlight 2 other parts now. There is a part of your brain, the frontal cortex, that is continuously scanning for threats. Okay, they're just looking for errors and threats and things like that. When you're walking down the street, it's always alert. You see something and it's like, okay, I need to run, or whatever it is. So this part of your brain, it's automatic. You can't switch it off. This is the part of the brain that looks out for threats and danger and all of those kind of stuff. And when that is engaged, it sends some messaging to the amygdala, and that is your fight, flight, or freeze response. Now, as I said, you can't switch this off. That's just the thing. So when you're in a meeting with let's just say your exec, and you're showing some data, and you cannot paint a clear picture of the villain, and they are the sort of person that anything that you say that may threaten me as the way that people see me or whatever, that may just be like, I don't like what you're saying. I don't like this whole idea of what you're bringing to the table. So I'm just not going to follow your advice, and I'm going to discredit you and whatever it is. So when we take that and give it a story, there is some change management sometimes that needs to go with that, to make sure that people don't see your messaging as the threat. They need to see the real threat, and you need to be very, very clear in terms of what that is. Else your message or your data could very well become the data in the absence of a clear, the villain, in the absence of a clear villain. Now, how do you address that? One way you can is through empathy maps. So this is helping you aligning that insights with your business. You need to look at what your audience is hearing. What do they see? What do they say or do? What are the pain points that you want to address? So when you're looking at hearing, so who do they listen to? Who are the people that influence them? Sometimes you can do all the work, fantastic, but you need to hand it over to somebody else who they will listen to. That is taking, they are more likely then to take your advice. If you already have that authority, fantastic. If you don't, I know in the beginning of my career that nobody was going to listen to little old me. So, I needed to do the work, go to my boss, brief them, let them ask all the questions that they have, prepare them, make them look as good as they can. And then they go present, and it's just like, fantastic. That is the action that we want. Now, in some cases, we have bosses that take the credit for themselves, which is not that great. But you always have to keep the end in mind, what will get the action done. And then write it down to say, this is what I contributed to the team, if you do have someone who likes to hog the credit. The next is, what do they see? So who do they see? Do they work with customers? Who do they work with? What are the type of things they look at every day that they will be recognizing? So I know when I go and speak to an executive person, the stuff that I present, there's some mention of rands and cents or benefits to the company or a reduction in risk or something like that. What are the things that they see on a daily basis that when you go and show your story, they will be able to recognize, like, yeah, this is applicable to me. The next thing is, what do they say or do? What are their vision, their core values? What would they gain by following your suggestions? So remember in our story that we were telling about the cows, to say, if you follow our suggestions, you will have less cows that die. Now, isn't that like what everybody wants? So you always link it back to what value are you bringing to them? The value is really going to get them, and then the pain points. What obstacles do they encounter, and how can what you say alleviate their pain? So think about these type of things when you do any type of insights that you present to someone. And I'm not just talking about presenting in person. There's also, like, when you create a dashboard or anything like that, what is the data or the insights that they would like to see that can make them or that can help them make a decision that is more data driven, as opposed to just like on their gut. So to give you a quick checklist in terms of how to get there. So we spoke about this. Number one, recognition. Can people recognize what they are looking at in like 5 seconds, or what they're listening to in like 5 seconds? Is there a clear opportunity, problem, or risk? Can they see the good, the bad, the ugly in a few minutes or few seconds? What are the trends? Can they identify it? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Like, this is it's something that we learn in the retail space, where they create a fear in terms of getting people to do some action. So if there is a fear factor as well, just add it in there. Like, if you don't do this, this is what is going to happen. Number four, do they understand why it is getting better, worse, or uglier? And then what I said before, very important, a clear call to action. Make sure that people know what it is that you want them to do. And do they understand the value of what is being presented? If you hit these 6 spots, I can tell you it will just go so much better in terms of presenting your data. So that is what will turn that red thing where people are working against their memories, their gut, their experiences, and be like, okay, this makes sense. Maybe I would have made this decision, but based on this data, and I can see that it's clearly aligned to making me look like the hero, this is the decision that I'm going to take based on the recommendation. And this is, it's really going to get some value out of that in terms of the actions that I'm taking. So I just want to pause here. Do we have any questions or comments? Because the chat has been really quiet.
No, not yet. But I'm actually liking, especially the 6-point slides that you just made. I mean, it speaks to so many challenges that a lot of people face, where you do a lot of work on an analysis, and then when you go and present, you just don't get the buy. Often why is that? And so these actually, especially the slide before this one as well. If only I wish I knew this before, doing
The empathy map.
spending weeks. Yeah, exactly. This a lot. To think from this perspective, like particularly, what are their vision? What do they gain? Those are interesting questions that I wish I could have asked myself prior to going to the presentation. That's like, okay, this is why I couldn't get the buy-in that I needed when I presented my analysis. So it's quite interesting to see that this speaks to that. And I think had I known how to communicate, this is how you could deal with this obstacle, so on and so forth, I think on that response from it. So it's quite interesting to see.
Yeah. So Katlego, can I ask you a question? And maybe people in the audience, you can when you learn the hard skills of how to do data analysis and things like that, does this type of stuff ever come up? Or is it just, this is how you do statistical analysis, this is how you do? Just a question. I want to ask the who said cast. Sorry guys, I'm in a play right now. it's just everything is like the cast and the director, the audience as well. What are the type of things that you encounter in like formal training for these things? Do they talk about the human side of it, that there's a person on the other end?
Okay, so one summary while the chats are coming through, if I can recall, the extent of it was, your slide that spoke to the
Yeah,
triangulation, where you showed the quantitative and then how you could use the quantitative to support, or the qualitative to be supported by the quantitative. Seeing, just looking at from the qualitative side, would have been like your histograms, like your normal charts and line charts and stuff to just explain your analysis, but
yeah,
not from, well, this is from my personal opinion, but not from this kind of level where you would ask yourself these kinds of information and then how you could put that together in your discussion points in your presentation. So from my experience, it's been a long time ago since I got my degree, but maybe things have changed. But yeah, the extent of qualitative would have been mostly, charts and histograms, and not really from the emotional element side of things. So that this is quite interesting. Um, okay, oh, here's some chats coming through. I think the first one is saying by Torello, it's always the technical things and not the soft skills, and that's super true. It's like,
yeah,
you know, doing your equations, doing your analysis, playing around it, the statistical coding and Python and
yeah.
all those crazy nice super modelings, but never really the way you've just put it there. Never given formal training. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I guess that's that. No formal training at uni. Could these soft skills fall into a course on statistical consulting or communication? I think that's more towards you.
I'm not sure what universities teach. Whenever I get, so in my company, whenever I interact with a person that I'm coaching or something like that, and they present anything, um, I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. You're learning how to do the technical things of how to use, in some cases, R or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, great. So what does it mean? And then that the whole coaching session really is just about, okay, so what are you trying to say? And half the time people look at me like, I'm not quite sure. And I'm like, okay, think about it. What is it that you want to say? Who do you want to say it to? Some of the problems that I also encounter is when somebody takes a presentation that they've done to one group and they try to do the exact same with someone with a completely different group. And it's like, they don't care about the same stuff. So they're not going to listen to what you have to say. There is some contextualization that you need to do. And it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. Like sometimes I sit there and it's like a whole new, and I'm like, okay, I still need to talk about data quality, or I still need to talk about maturity or whatever, but I need to do it in a different way that these people are going to be caring about. And I have to say, I think I'm 104 years old, as you can tell. When I was trained on this stuff, I certainly didn't get any of this, the human side of it. These are things that I've learned through trial and error. And like you said, Katleho, coming out of a meeting and then just like, they didn't even care about what I just presented. I think one of the earliest, and I think this may be a little bit of a maturity thing on my end as well. Previously, I would have never asked for, hey guys, can you give me like really honest feedback in terms of how I could have done this better? And I did that once. And the executive told me, I had no idea what you wanted me to do. In all honesty, I saw fantastic things. Now, let me paint a picture in terms of what I was presenting at this. I was looking at about 400 different processes in an organization. I had data in terms of how many people were executing on that processes. I looked at how much of the process itself was actual value add, so what the client was willing to pay for. What were the things that we actually had to do because of legislation or regulatory requirements, and the others were just like waste. And most of the processes, the ranges were like 70 to 80% waste, a little bit like 5 or 10%. Obviously my maths is not working out right now, but it was like this much in terms of value, and the rest were waste. And I'm like, you're spending so many people are executing these processes, and like you don't need to spend all that money in this organization because there's a lot of waste here. Just take that out. And I just thought I was doing the mostest out of this, and it was just so fantastic. I was like the FTE this and the FTE that and the throughput and output and all this. And he was just like, you spoke for half an hour, and I just sat there and I was really just looking at my laptop and things like that because I could not care less, because I didn't actually say rands and cents and what you can save and your pain points and all of that kind of stuff. I learned it was a hard road. So yeah, so I'm glad this is a little different to perhaps what people have been seeing. All right, so that was just a quick check-in. We are at the halfway mark here, so we went pretty much through the data story type thing. So now I'm just going to focus a little bit on the enhancing of the visualization techniques. So how you present your data matters. Like I said, whether you are there in person or if it is just it's a dashboard or anything else. And I'm going to go back to the basics because again, this isn't something, and maybe some things have changed. This isn't something that I learned when I was learning these things, and it's so simple, and it's like, really, like, how, why? Okay. So we all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm not even asked this question like here, right? So the 1,000 words that you saw there was literally 1,000. It's represented in this little picture. It's easy for the brain to compute. I mean, I think it's so self-explanatory in terms of what this picture is saying, right? So we need to learn how to make sure that it's easy for the brain to compute what we put on a screen or what we put on a page. Now, one of the pitfalls that people have is because they're using, and I don't know how to say this word, is it tableau, Tableau? I don't know, that tool, the data visualization. But anyway, any type of data visualization tools, right? So we have these fantastic things, and we think just because it comes out of that tool, it's amazing visualization, when the people on the other end may not think that way because, you know, it's the default setting. So I've got a competition very quickly. If you can tell me what are the 5 top regions on this chart, I will give you 100 rands, a gift voucher. So you have a good 30 seconds to just give me your top 5 regions, and I will watch the chat. Just want to see. Cool.
Possible to zoom in, hey, especially there by the pie charts. Or is
No,
it part of the?
Okay. This is it, man.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anybody? Oh my guys, you know what? Screw it. I'll make it a $500 gift voucher if anybody can tell me in the next.
Maybe you can ask someone to unmute because there's quite a lot to.
I see North Carolina.
Oh, there's one.
The region in terms of what sales or revenue. Let's see. Okay. Right. I'm going to give 10 more seconds. Okay. Okay, that 10 seconds went really quickly. All right, so here's the thing. I'm going to level with you guys. Don't be mad, but there was never a take a lot voucher. I mean, for realsies, like I'm broke. I just putting it out there. It was just a little bit of an incentive to see, you know, for you to try and figure out. Now, Katlego, I was watching your face the entire time, okay? And I looked at your facial expressions. Now, the real question that I want to ask, and I'll tell you now why I was looking at your face, was how many seconds did it take you to give up? Just put that in the imaginary 5 seconds. There we go. Katlego, you really tried because you were on camera. I saw, and I was like, you know, when the moment you gave up, you were doing this, you were leaning forward, your face was all scrunched and stuff, and you were looking, your eyes were going. And then when you just like, when you did that, I was like, dude gave up. Absolutely. Just 1 second. The moment I looked at it, ooh, Prof. Inga didn't give up. Well done to you, but there's still no money.
She's an iron.
13-3, 10
Nice.
seconds till they announce the gift. Here's the thing.
10 seconds.
Do you know how many times people look at the data that you present? And this is a hard lesson that I had to learn as well, because you know, you're very in love with your work and you just plunk everything in there, everything in the kitchen sink. And then it's a sensory overload. I'm looking, I don't know where I'm looking. I cannot find the answer to what you are saying. So I'm just going to not engage. And it happens in meetings as well. You just really need to look at the faces around the room. You'll start to see the system 2 and system 1 faces that's happening. I have a really ugly system 1 face, system 2 face. It's really like thinking, concentrating type thing. So yeah, you can actually see it on people's. So when I say systems 1 and systems 2, I've taken this from Thinking Fast and Slow. This is the Nobel Prize winner wrote a book on this. So it's this is a conceptual view of how we think. So system 1 is fast, it's quick, it's automatic. If I say 2 + 2, you will be able to say 4 in like 2 seconds flat, like a half second flat, something. It's automatic. It's everyday decisions that we make, but it is very error prone, right? And then you've got the system 2 that is a little bit more slow and conscious and effortful. So Katlego, your face, when you were leaning forward and you were scrunching up, it was a little bit more effortful. Now, the thing with system 2, because it is so effortful, right? It takes a lot of energy. And most people don't like being in that system because it drains you. So they like the system 1. So when we visualize data, we need to say, how can we present our data so that people can engage system 1 by just what they're seeing? And when they really want to understand something, they can go to system 2 for that and come back out, instead of the entire thing that they're looking at be like, oh, I need to scrunch. Can you guys give me 2 seconds? I think it's getting dark and I need to just switch on a light on this end. And I'm going to stand up slowly so that you can't see that my buttons do not match my, just give me a second. Okay, there we go. A little bit better. All right, cool. Right, so we're going to look at a couple of techniques in terms of how to do this. And it really just how the brain can compute these things, right? So we're going to make use of the visual language hierarchy, which we're looking at location, size, gradient, color, and shape. And it goes in that order because some scientists did some work and they were like, that's the order that we go. And we trust scientists, okay? That's all we do. Okay, so this is sales in office supplies. Location is where it is on the page. Now I see quite a few issues here. I'm just going to highlight 2. So we've got the 2016, 2017 up until 2019 on top. Yet, oh, I forgot we could do this. Should have done this since the beginning. So 2000 on top, but we've got the, what do you call these? Quarters at the bottom. So what you're asking someone to do is to look there and then look here and look there and figure out and keep that stuff in their memory to say, okay, this is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 1, quarter, there's no visual cues for them. So that is, it's a little bit of a problem in terms of where it is placed. And then we also, there's some issues here in terms of repetitive numbers. The more stuff that's on here, the more I have to compute. And it's like, I need to figure out what that is. So how can we improve this chart a little bit to make it easier for somebody to understand? Remember, it's always about the audience. So perhaps we can use size. Now, what the brain does automatically is, sorry about that. So the bigger the size, the bigger the amount. That's how we see it, and the smaller, the smaller. So it's just a little bit easier to compute now, as opposed to having those bar graphs in there. But it's still looking a little bit not so great, right? So maybe we can employ a different, something different here. We're going to go to gradients. Now this just in the comment section, I just want to see, does the third one that's on the screen now, does that look better than the one that we had before? Just say yes on the screen if it does, if you think it does. Yes, there we go. Thank you. Yes, in caps. Fantastic. It does look a little bit better. I'm seeing some thumbs up coming here. Fantastic. It's a little bit of a, easier on the eyes. Now, as an executive, I may say, okay, this is fantastic, but which ones do you want me to focus on? Because I see a heck of a lot of blockies that's coming around here. So you may want to say, okay, I'm going to leave it at gradient because it looks a little bit great, but I'm just going to add the amounts for the ones that I want us to talk about. So for instance, appliances art in Q1, we didn't do that great. So everywhere where there's a number, this is something that I want to highlight a little bit. Now it's looking a little bit better, fantastic, but I'm still seeing a little bit of issues around. I can't tell which actually sold a little bit better. Do I need to buy more binders? Do I need to buy more storage? Like it's not very easy for me to see what that is. So we're just going to employ another technique here. It's thank you, Martin. Right, fantastic. So Martin just says he needs to leave. So one thing that we can do is maybe just sort it alphabetically or in terms of size. So now you can see, oh, storage was slightly outperforming binders. And that is a little bit of an easier thing. And you can, here we also added a couple of stuff here to see, maybe we can see the trends between 2016 and 2019. So this is taking the same information in different views, thinking about what is it that the person is going to experience on the other end, not what's easy for me or what's convenient for me as the analyst, but what is easy for the audience to take in. Right, so here's another example that we have. And we're going to start location, size, gradient, color, and shape again. So this is a, and by the way, I've seen presentations like this, right? And I'm just like, sure. Yep, I know exactly what you want me to do. Like, seriously, this is more raw data than anything else. So let's see, we want to take all of this and create, so we're going to start with location again. Right, we're going to have a little bit of a, what is this, a scatter plot or something. Okay, cool. It's a little bit better than the table that we had, but there is there are some issues here. I still have to stop at every what do you call this, circle, to see what this is west, how many ever, and it's binders. It's not that great. Let's see if we can employ something around the lines of size. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger I know, okay, cool, I can see the differences here, but here's a little bit of an issue, right? Everything is just on top of each other. Okay, so this size isn't working. So let's see if we can employ something else in the hierarchy. We're going to use a gradient. Okay, gradient looks a little bit better. Still have some issues here. We look at I still need to look, it's binders, it's west. Okay, is there something else that I can employ? Color. This is, and by the way, whenever you use colors on a screen, try not to use more than 3 at a time because the brain can only use so much. I mean, if you look at our robots, it's red, green, and what's that thing called in the middle? That color, orange. There we go. It's 3. That's it. The moment you start introducing another one and another one, and now I have to put stuff in my memory to see what is this color. Yeah, and so this isn't working very well. So maybe we should go to shape. This is, because now we can see this is a binder. This is something else. And when we use shapes, for instance, in this case, shapes kind of work because it's something that is familiar. Remember what we said before, when they look at it, is it something that they can recognize immediately? And this, yeah, I can see this is a binder, and this is whatever these things, this is a clip art thing. Wait, not clip art. What is that thing? A clip something else. That thing. But yeah, I know what it is. So I can see you get shapes here, you get gradients. Who's laughing at me? I said, English not my first language. I'm thinking about Word, and it had clip, a paper clip. Thank you, Renee. Like, it's a paper clip, By the way, that was the original ChatGPT. That's all I'm saying. That clip arty thing in Word made a huge difference to me. All right, clips up. All right, so that is something, before I go to the next one, this is something that you need to consider in terms of how you present your data. Always keep in mind that you don't want to overload the senses. People are going to lean in, they're going to look at it. After a while, they're going to give up because it's like, I can't deal. I can't decipher all of this. And it happens quite automatically. And that's something that you don't want. So just a guide to some charts that we have. And what we've done at one of our clients, because we wanted to take them to a data-driven organization. So we gave them a little bit of a little booklet to say, when you have to do this, this is the chart you start off with. If that doesn't work, then you go and find something else that can tell your story better. Because we were, if I can, you know, that pie chart that we had there, just don't use pie charts, like for realsies, like guys, it's just, yeah, don't. So here's a little bit of a guide. So if you're looking at metrics, right? If you are comparing metrics, you can use a bar chart, column chart. One thing that you have to do, it's just good practice, is sort by large to small or vice versa. We've seen what that looked like in the previous example, where we couldn't see the binder versus the storage something. Just sort it. It's easier for the brain to compute. When you're using a metric that is over time, maybe sales and revenue over like a period of a few months, a line chart. Easy, simple. Don't try to be fancy. I know that when people do data analysis and things like that, there's almost like this expectation that you need to be super fancy and you need to do, honestly, the simplest thing that can get your message out, that's the thing that will work. Line chart over time. And then when you want to show the relationship, if it is 2 variables, you can do a scatter plot. If it is 3 variables, you may want to do a bubble plot. And Excel can do these things fairly easy as well if you want to practice and things like that. And then 2 more things. If you are doing parts of a whole, a tree map is really good. So you will see this in store layouts and those kind of stuff to see, well, this is the space that we have, or it doesn't really matter. It's like, this is the money that we have and we are going to be sharing this here. Heat maps are pretty cool. I use that all the time. It's just to show the intensity. The more intense the color, you know, the bigger the volume that's there. And a stacked column is also good to show parts of the whole. I have to say, I haven't used the, you know, that 100% stack column where everything is the same. I use that very sparingly. It does have its place, but sometimes it just confuses the audience as well, especially if they haven't been exposed to these things before. And then we have, when you do distribution, you can use the same scatter plots, column, bar chart, line chart. These things help. But this is just a little booklet, especially for new guys coming in, to say, you know what, when you try to show this, just start with this here. If there's a better way of showing it, by all means, go and find that. And just what we spoke of before. Data analysis is as much a soft skill as it is a hard skill. It's not just you sitting in front of your computer, crunching the numbers or doing thematic analysis, all of those kind of stuff. There is somebody at the end of the line that doesn't see the effort that goes into, that doesn't have the background that you have to into that data. Somebody that wants to know, what must I do in order to fix what? And if you tell me those things, I'm more likely to listen to what you have to say. And don't go in there with bad data, with like mistakes on your stuff. That's also a big no-no. Right. And that's it from me today. It was wonderful being on this side. I'm glad you guys have been such an interactive audience. I'm Dr. Jeanne Fredericks, and I love data and stuff and things. And that's it. I don't know if you have any questions. Cool. Got somebody still laughing at me. Okay, I don't know, Katlego, if there are any questions, Prof, if there's anything from your end. Ooh, I had one. What chart would be useful for turnaround time? That's a very good question. I'm just thinking. It depends. Well, what other information are you putting in there? Are you comparing it to what it was before? Are you saying this is the new turnaround time? What's the context? Because I can think of, yeah, is it a comparison? Let me see. Okay, comparing and showing increase and decrease. Yeah, if I'm doing I can put that on a line chart. If I show it over a period of time, maybe it is like 6 days and now it's 2. I can show the decrease from it went from here to here, and this is the goal that we want. You can show it on a bar chart as well. I would actually just use the line chart type thing. It really comes to what is the message that you want to say. It in some, yeah, no line. So I'm just thinking in some cases where I had to do some process improvements where I showed the difference. I usually showed yeah, line chart. Line chart is good. And sometimes I just make a statement, guys, it used to be 83 days, now it's 3 days. What else do you want to know type thing. What advice can you give a junior data professional who works in a space that has never had data? Oh, that is a very good question. Oh, sorry, for the rest of you guys who may not say it, what advice can you give a junior data professional who works in a space that has never had a data analyst before? Solve people's problems. Like, I heard this many years ago. It's a guy called Zig Ziglar. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, you can get what you want. So go in there, find those use cases, tiny ones that you can solve very quickly through data, and say, I'm going to help you with this problem, and then use data to do that. After a while, people are they will be more prone to make data-based decisions because they can see how yours has helped them, and then also have a conversion rate to say, you see, this was the problem that was here. This was the data that we did. This was what the data suggested. This is the action that whomever has taken, and this was the results. So you do the before to say, this is my recommendation. If someone has done it, what was the result afterwards? Whether it is good or bad, it doesn't matter. You are creating a backlog of that. And then you start using that decision conversion rate to show the benefits of data that is in there. And then also, is it just in terms of the how to establish the capability in your organization, or are you also asking around they don't have someone and there isn't anybody that can help coach you or anything like that? Just want to see from that out. Pie charts are naughty. Prof. Coaching and pathway. All right, so in this,
Jeanne, there was just scroll up, there's a first comment about the pie charts. Otherwise, mine seems quite random.
no, I saw the pie charts.
Okay.
Yeah, they are naughty. Like, oh, the 3D pie charts. I don't know why it's still a thing. Okay, so coaching and pathway. Here's the thing. If you don't have the support in the organization to help you carve your road, right? One of the things that you can do is go outside of your organization. So there are 3 roles that you for juniors that I still have these 3 roles. Actually, it's 3 roles for everybody. So one is a coach. So this is somebody who actually knows how to do the work. So if you get stuck, you can go to them and ask them. So for instance, in my world, I coach a lot of masters and PhD students on certain things. And it's because I've been through the process. So it's easy for me to be like, come on, this is not going to get you where you need to be. So it's your coach. If you can find a mentor. So a mentor is more somebody, and you can get this in your organization as well. It doesn't necessarily mean it's someone that knows how to do exactly what you do, but a mentor, it helps you. It's not so much about skills, but it helps you as a person. So remember when I said those 3 little circles that were working together, where you had your data acumen, your tech acumen, and your context acumen. So if you are in an organization, you can find a mentor that can help you with that context acumen. I mean, if you link data with that context, you'll do no wrong. And then the last thing is to have a sponsor. Now, the sponsor is somebody that can open doors for you that you cannot. So if you get like someone, whether that is your boss or somebody else who can speak on your behalf in your organization, because then they can help you, like they can get somebody in to come and help train you. I've seen people do skill swap where they take one person from one organization. You can go to a different organization, be there for about 3 to 6 months, learn as much as you can, and then you come back to do some fantastic things in your organization. But somebody needs to sponsor you and give you permission to go and do that. So you can find a sponsor. Go to conferences and things. Do you know how many conferences I go to in a year? It's just literally, you sit there, you learn a crap load of things in a short period of time. And I don't pay for conferences. I just say, can I moderate thing or can I be a speaker or anything like that, so that I can get in it for free and get all that knowledge that, so those are the type of things. Get those 3 people. It can be 3 people, it can be 2, but get those roles to help guide your career path as well. Then I got data analysis from scratch by Joel. It's a good investment for a start. I have never, is that a book? I have never done that before. I'm old. Like the last time I was, it's a book. Oh, okay. You get anything that you can. There's, the amount of knowledge that is just sitting in like free resources like YouTube, or like, I kid you not, I sit here and I'm like, here's a problem that I would like to solve. Let me just do a quick search on YouTube to see how do I actually do this thing. And it's amazing the amount of things that people have put on there. So get books, go onto YouTube, figure these things out yourself, but find real life problems that you can solve through data, even if it is in your personal life. I mean, I can open right now, I've got a whole thing of I created a tool for personal and business, and it's Excel based. And I needed to go YouTube and figure out some formula. And I said, well, there are certain problems that I'm having as a business owner. I'm sure other people have as well. Created a tool to say, how do you align what everybody does on a daily basis to what the goals are for the organization? And how do you identify waste in your organization? How do you know which processes to improve? So find real life problems, whether it is at work or in your personal life, and just play around with it and start solving problems. Use case by use case. That is how you improve your capability. What advice can you give someone who will like to learn more about data analysis but does not have a lot of background on this? What is a good starting point or course to consider? There are some great beginner courses on, is it still free? Coursera. I know I used to do quite a few courses back in the day when it was still free. But Udemy, the courses are so cheap. You can literally do a search there to say data analysis for beginners. If you are at an organization like a big one, I know Katlego, at your organization, you have an online learning platform where every what is it called? Every employee and every contractor has free access to that, that you can just do. But there are some great some great courses, like I said, on YouTube as well, where you can just search and figure some stuff out. But if you want a structured course that is online, Udemy, I like their stuff as well. And I think Get Smarter also has.
Actually, just to ask Inga, I think we're probably going to chat about upcoming courses as well. So okay. All right. Yeah, I think that as well. Yeah. Okay, I'll go hand it over to you. Can I just throw my 2 cents at that interesting question the other one had? Also, what I come to see from also my experiences when I present, they tend to be more attentive when I show the rand impact on the pockets. so when you grab more of your audience, maybe just show them the financial impact as well as the risk, maybe. And I think that's a good one. And I think also maybe LinkedIn also seems to be a good source if you guys can't find anybody within your organization in terms of a mentorship. Maybe you can try platforms like LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken, Johnny.
Yeah, in all honesty, what I've done, I just go and look for, so when I pivoted my career into the whole data consulting type space, I was like, okay, I know how to do data analysis. I know but how to do it in a consulting space is a little bit different. So I just looked at LinkedIn, I found like chief data officers. I just searched for those guys, and then I just sent them messages. Hey, can I have some time? And quite a few responded, and then I had conversations, and now I'm just surrounded by people who knows a heck of a lot more than I do in this space. And when I need like advice or anything, I've got a standing arrangement to say, okay, you know what, can I have a conversation with you around this? It doesn't even have to be that formal, and these people don't charge you or anything like that. I've never paid for a mentor. So yeah, just ask. That's it. Ask. You'll be surprised. Right. Just be aware that data. Oh, it's Prof. Prof, just speak, man.
What? Can't take the floor. It's not my expertise level. I think what I added there is really important. I think we get, in our field of statistics and analysis, it's very, I think people think that you can learn it over the weekend. And I'm not saying that you need to have done a 3-year degree in honors, otherwise you can never do analysis. But it's there's a lot of learning. And it's not just about, okay, can I make a graph or can I, run a GLM or whatever. When we teach analysts at university or wherever you've studied, we teach them the insight into why the model works like that. And that's really important, because otherwise we get that, what's that saying, lies and statistics, because people use it and don't use it correctly. Yeah. So if you want to go into the analyst space, which is a huge space, just approach it with a long-term learning. It's going to take you a long time to learn it in industry, and you can learn it with your colleagues, with your mentors, like Jeanne said, and all of that. But it's long-term learning. You're not going to be an analyst next January if you start today. Like it's a huge, it's numbers, and most of the the world is scared of numbers. So it's a challenging but really awesome career to go in. So just approach it as long-term. That's my prof voice.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that study that I showed in the beginning, where I said I was doing structural equation modeling, yeah, I did not know what that was. I knew what I wanted out. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how to interpret it. I employed a coach. I didn't pay them. It was just like, okay, someone, I need to do this. I eventually, the first round that I tried to run, I had such a massive error. The thing didn't even want to run. And I was just like, okay, so my data was crap, by the way. So I had to go back and get some more data. And then I found someone in the Americas somewhere, and they were like, okay, I will have 3 sessions with you where we'll just run through it. And he systematically showed me, this is how you do it. And I was just like, notes. I still have the recordings, like, oh my gosh. I had to learn how to use R. And I was like, okay, this is a new. So it takes, like you say, it's a long-term thing. I know about it now. Now I can talk about it. It's like,
So I I think what you've said there is really important, and I want to comment on that. And then Tusorello has also made a comment now in the chat, which is exactly what I'm trying to say. So with so many stats tools and techniques, how can you find the right approach or tools to solve a particular problem? I tend to be stuck at the right approach point. And that's exactly why analysts study 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because they learn why that tool. They don't, you don't learn how to just run the tool in R or Python or a software. You learn why the tool was invented and what it does, what are some assumptions. And this is why you can't just do it over a weekend. And exactly what you were saying, Jeanne. So you've got all this expertise, but still we'll find something we haven't seen before, and then we have to go learn it. But at least we have the background to be able to understand where it fits in, what is different to something we've learned before, and that sort of thing. So it's a really long journey and worthwhile, very worthwhile journey. There's an interesting question there. I'm gonna let you see if you can answer it, Jeanne. What's the difference between a data scientist and a data analyst?
Okay. So a data scientist is someone that, all right, let's start with data science. It's difficult without pictures and stuff, right? Okay, so remember, oh, wait, over here. Let me do this. Let me do this. Where is that thingy that I had in the beginning? Aha. Okay. Okay. So think of this as a data analyst, right? You collect your data, you analyze your data, and then you present some insights type thing, right? Data science is the collection of all these 3 things here. And then you just make an adjustment to say like modeling on this end here. So what they do, so they do some predictive modeling and diagnostics, and it's the modeling that can help an organization predict. Well, that is if you are at a very mature level to predict the future by this variable and whatever. So I would say that data science is more the broader, and then you've got data analytics that is a subset of data science, for instance. I think Prof will be able to explain it a heck of a lot better than I can.
I think I like how you describe it there. I think that's really important. I think it ties in with the conversation we were just having. The analyst has all the expertise on modeling. How do you know what model to choose? What happens when the model output comes? Can you see it works or doesn't work? Or what are the red flags and that sort of thing? Whereas the data scientist is a little bit of a broader thing, but it's also for me sort of a hit buzzword at the moment. Statisticians have been doing what you've got on the slide now forever. It's not new, this data science thing. It's just that we have more data, and industry and corporate need more people that can work with data. So it's become a cooler thing. And statistician is maybe not as cool as data scientist, and a little bit of that. But however, a data scientist maybe doesn't have to be a statistician who can do all the modeling. There could be someone in a team who can play one of these roles, or be the person who explains the data, be the person who makes the data stories like Jeanne's shown us today, and that sort of thing. But I do think it's sort of defined differently in all sorts of in different industries. So, but it's all data. It's all.
It really is, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And okay, some of this stuff is complicated. Let's just face it. It's not that easy. But yeah, if you want to get a start in it, just start interpreting what that data is. Run a couple of scenarios and then figure some stuff out. You learn by doing. Oh, and just to add to Prof as well, it's a long-term thing, not just what you can study and see in front of you. It's by doing and solving real things that's where you get a lot of learning. The amount of time that I use the wrong model for something, and then it's like, this doesn't look right. It's like, what are you doing? Because it's not for that. And it's like, really? Interesting. And the reason why I use the wrong model, because that's what I knew, right? You start there, you figure it out, it doesn't work. There's always a fail forward type thing. You use, you do, it doesn't work that great. Let's see what else is out there, and you get more people. Make sure that you're always the dumbest person in the room. That's what I do. It's just like, let me take from you. What can I do? And just learn. Okay. Oh, okay. Now did you answer this question? How does a statistician? Oh, you did. You answered.
Yeah, it's popped up new now, but I think it's sort of, I can maybe I think, Hammond, what you mean is the difference between the data science and a statistician. Just give a thumbs up or can unmute if you want. Or maybe it's what you drew in your picture. I think so. Statisticians, okay, there is the slight difference with data science is it's become much more computer driven, coding driven. And I think maybe in a long time ago, 15 years ago, long ago, we didn't have as much access to data easily and coding skills and that sort of thing. So when you've got someone who can do coding, good coding, so you can talk to the data developers, the software developers in your country, but also know the statistics and the mathematics, then you've sort of got this data science person. Someone who's maybe can't code but knows what statistics is or is very theoretical, maybe wouldn't think of themselves as a data scientist. So it's sort of in that, but what you will see is with degrees, you will find very few degrees that are called data science. The core degrees are still there. You're still studying mathematics or statistics or investment management, or these are the degrees you still study. Some of them we've thrown, sorry for the dogs talking in the background. Some of them degrees will have thrown in a data science angle or something like that.
Yeah.
But the core discipline is still the maths, the stats, the business.
You still need to know that stuff.
Yeah, that's still your core, and you need that base, and then you sort of in your industry or in the field you're in, you learn the nuances of what's going on there, and what we've seen today, how to tell your story. You don't learn a lot of that, I think, at university, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it in your end. It's like,
We
guys,
try.
story.
It's just not enough space to put it all in. You have to.
I get you.
Yeah, you got to do, but we're very aware of it. I think especially the statistics departments and data science, we're very aware of how we need to be training for someone who's going to probably get a statistics degree but apply for a data science job.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they must know how to market themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I have no idea what the time is. It feels late.
Yeah, it's so exciting. You lose track. I don't see any more questions. Katlego?
I don't see any more either. Yeah.
No, I don't see anything as well.
Okay, I'm gonna mute Katlego because my dogs are going wild. You can take over.
Yeah. I also don't see any questions. How are we on? Okay, I don't know. We're well under time. So, any last minute round of questions, guys? Any interesting debates of her? Like this particular topic has always been an interesting new kind of debate. Statistics versus data sciences, which is interesting. And I don't know why that distinction got birthed from. But I think Professor just explained it now, that it's really with the increase of technology, data and stuff like that. And what I often say is, another correction, that statistics is basically a science for decision making. And part of the process in getting to the decision is, after collecting the data, is then analyzing the data. And then that way you come in and bring your technology in, and using the programming to analyze that information and so on and so forth. So I always thought that it was a part of statistics, actually, that the data analysis and data science. So it's quite interesting how it branched to its own thing. Okay, just the last check, guys. So I guess we're all cool. All right, I think I shall hand it over to our prof to close it. Okay, thank you, Prof.
I can do that. Sorry for the dogs if they make noise again. They're having a play here on the side. Jeanne, thank you so much. That was really, really wonderful. I made lots of notes because I like this story thing.
Sorry, Prof. The last minute question just jumped in.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah. What advice you give someone who wanted to move from management foundation to analysis? So I think, Abigail, you need to get in a team where there's someone you can learn from. I think, Jeanne, what do you want to? I think you will have a nice set of advice there.
I agree with you. You need to do it by yourself, it's going to be extraordinarily hard. Figure out if there is somebody that can assist you, and again, come back to that real life thing. Just do, and learn. Go into that continuous improvement cycle that you have. You can plan to do something, you do it, and then you do some reviewing to see where are your gaps, and be open to criticism. I think that's also something that we need to look at, and don't see it as like, oh my gosh, you're attacking me as a person. It's just you're learning a skill. Everybody it sucks at something until they're good. So yeah, just find that person to learn, have them. I still have, as I said, many people around where I want to try and go into something new. Who's that expert in this? Come and be my coach, and then we'll take it from there.
Also, I was just thinking, there are also, so UKZN and CPUT, which is the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. They both have and we are in the country discussing this in a lot more detail, but a postgrad diploma in data science. So it's aimed at people who don't have the maths and stats at undergrad, so you can't get into stats honors or stats masters or whatever. So if you're really serious, I would look for degrees like that, like a postgrad diploma, because it gives you enough information to be clever about how you do analysis. If you're looking for a qualification, there are courses, but I think a university longer degree, I think, is more, you do more work, so you get more insight into how it, what you need to know. I see there's another question. Are you going to take that last question?
I think you need to take that last question. I'm like, that's why I say I make sure that I'm the dumbest person in the room. We've got Prof here. I'm just learning.
So Kia, what I would say there is you need to get a statistician to consult with you on that. So what we do as statisticians is that someone who's in the field, so you're in a lab with instruments or something, you would get a statistician to come in and advise you on that. That's what we do as statistical consultants. Because it's complicated, because accuracy has certain measures, how you've got your control and your experiment and all of that. It's quite a technical thing. So there's no way I can tell you today what the answer is. But you can send an email. I'll put my email here in the chat. If anyone wants, I can put you in touch with people. Yeah, that's no problem at all.
There are
it's just
questions, eh?
Oh, hold on, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, started off easy and then
and I was just like, more questions, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's really nice. You guys are so insightful. It's lovely to spend a Thursday evening here talking to everyone. Okay, I think we've got all the questions there.
All right.
Okay, so the good news is this is only our second course of 7 courses. So on Tuesday next week, we have an introduction to R. What are we doing on Tuesday? To R. So if you haven't done R before, R is a really lovely, it's built for statistics, but it's a really nice, accessible coding language if you don't know coding and you want to start. And then next week, Thursday, we get to see Jeanne again, and she's going to present us another workshop on data quality and data ownership, which is really important. So you can, by the end of these 7 courses, you'll be, at least you'll know what you need to know, what you don't know, and what you know. And then the week after that, on the 4th of June, we have a Python introduction. So if you want to learn some coding with Python. And on the 6th of June, we've got an introduction to GIS software. So that's your spatial analysis software. Frank, okay, I'll answer you now. And then the following week, we've also got an introduction to GitHub, if you haven't used GitHub before. Frank says, do we have to install R? Yes, Frank, I think that's probably a good idea. We will, so if you're doing R, install R and R Studio. You'll be able to follow while we're going, and then you can sort of follow on afterwards. But it would be an advantage if you install it before. Again, send me an email and I can tell you if you're not sure. Tesserello, is it possible to do postgrad stats if you come from an engineering background? So Tesserello, not normally, because you need a major in statistics, and the engineers don't do a major. You do some stats with your other module, so it is quite difficult. But there are other degrees at universities that are a bit more accessible. So there's an MSc E-Science, you can go look it up, that's a master's degree, which is actually across a number of universities in the country, which is especially for someone who's coming from some sort of mathematical background, but didn't do a whole degree in stats. And you can, so more data science type angle. And then the University of Pretoria also has an MIT Big Data Science, which has a similar structure. So if you come from another background, you can do a master's degree. And I'm sure UCT's also got a data science master's degree in the stats department, which allows for different entrances. So so I don't know the other universities very, very well, but there are universities. If you can make a workshops, the recording's available. So Mishan, so NITheCS, because NITheCS is hosting us here, they've sponsored us and they're hosting us today. The recording is stored by them, and to my understanding, they put it on their YouTube channel. So it should be available on there. But I think you'll need to just register for the workshop, so at least you get a notification that the recording is available or what. So maybe just register just in case. And then if you can attend, you can attend. And if not, then you can get something afterwards. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. This was really fun. My family's eating supper, and I'm like, no, I'm coming later. I'm busy doing something cool. So this was really, really lovely. We are really, really big nerds. But being a nerd is exciting in life, so it's fun.
All right.
Okay, everybody.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Time is really a scarce commodity, so we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a lovely evening. I'm going to end the meeting.